I want you to picture the ultimate academic dream. You're in law school,
Okay.
and you are not just surviving, you are absolutely dominating. Your grades are so high that at the end of every semester, the school calls you in and, hands you a check.
Basically saying, here's your tuition back. You're too smart to pay for this.
Exactly. It's the validation every student craves.
Yeah.
The full ride.
It signals that your brain is your currency.
Yeah. But today, we're going to take that dream and kind of shatter it. Because we've got a stack of documents here that tells a story where that reward turns into a trap.
A scenario where a university essentially says, sure, the education was free.
Until you decided to leave.
It's a classic bait and switch.
Right.
And it forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question.
Which is?
When does a scholarship stop being a gift for excellence and, start being a down payment on your freedom?
So for this deep dive, we're looking at L15127.
It's a Supreme Court case from the Philippines, Emeterio Key versus Arellano University.
Now, I know you might be thinking, 1950s Philippines, how does this apply to me? But the legal principles here are about contracts, power, and who actually owns your potential.
This case is really the grandfather of the debate around golden handcuffs.
I like that term.
Yeah. If an institution invests in you, do they own a piece of your future? And if you try to reclaim it, can they bankrupt you for it?
So let's set the stage. We're in post-war Manila, late 1940s, early 50s.
And our protagonist is Emeterio Key. From the court records, this guy sounds like the student everyone sort of hated but secretly wanted to be.
Academically gifted, no question.
Absolutely. He enrolled in the College of Law at Arellano University, and he wasn't just passing. He was consistently hitting the grades for their scholarship grants.
And the mechanics of this scholarship are really important. It wasn't just a discount, right?
Correct. And that's a crucial detail. Key paid his tuition at the beginning of the semester.
So he took the risk.
He took the risk. Then, if his grades were high enough, the university refunded his money at the end. It was a retrospective reward. You did the work, here's your money back.
So over time, this adds up. By his senior year, he's gotten back a total of 1,033 pesos and 87 centavos.
Which, in that era, is a significant amount of capital. That's not lunch money.
No, that's a livelihood.
Yeah.
But Key's situation wasn't just about the money, it was also personal.
Right. His uncle, Francisco R. Capistrano, was the dean of the College of Law there.
So he's got the grades, the refunds, and a family connection at the top. He's the golden boy of the law school.
But then the uncle makes a move that just topples the first domino.
Right before Key's final semester. I mean, he's literally at the finish line.
His uncle leaves Arellano University. He takes a new job as the dean and chancellor at a competing school, Abad Santos University.
And that creates the conflict. Does Key stay at the institution that's been funding him, or does he follow his mentor, his own flesh and blood?
It's the classic loyalty test, institution versus individual.
And Key chooses the individual. He leaves Arellano, enrolls at Abad Santos for his last semester, and graduates.
He gets the diploma. But in law, a diploma isn't enough.
You need to pass the bar exam. And to even take the bar, the Supreme Court needs your official transcripts. You have to prove you did the work.
So Key goes back to Arellano, hat in hand, and asks for his papers.
And this is where the trap snaps shut.
Yep. The university administration looks at him and says, we can't give you those transcripts. You owe us money.
Wait, I thought he'd paid his tuition every semester.
He did. But they weren't asking for tuition he hadn't paid. They were asking for the tuition they had refunded.
You're kidding. They wanted the 1,033 pesos back.
Every single peso.
That is bold. That's like an employer saying, you quit. Okay, pay back every Christmas bonus we ever gave you.
It's almost the exact same argument. And they didn't just pull this out of thin air. They had a weapon.
They had a contract.
The waiver.
I read the text of this in the case file, and I have to say, it stopped me in my tracks. It's so explicit.
It leaves very little room for interpretation. We had signed a document that said, and I'm paraphrasing here,
Go for it.
in consideration of the scholarship, I hereby waive my right to transfer to another school without having refunded to the university the equivalent of my scholarship cash.
I waive my right to transfer. I mean, he literally signed away his freedom of movement.
He agreed that if he walked out that door, the scholarship wasn't a gift anymore, it was a loan.
And now he's stuck. He can't take the bar exam without those transcripts. The university is holding his entire career hostage.
So he does the only practical thing he can do.
He pays up.
He pays the full amount. But and this is key, he marks the payment under protest.
Which is the legal equivalent of crossing your fingers behind your back.
Exactly. It means I'm giving you this money so I can survive today, but I am coming for you in court tomorrow.
And sue them he did. Which brings us to round one, the court of first instance.
And honestly, if you just look at the raw logic of contract law, it seemed like Arellano had this in the bag.
Well, yeah. I mean, he signed it. We all grow up hearing a contract is a contract. You can't just back out.
That's the principle. The lower court looked at the waiver and said, Mr. Cui, you're a law student. You knew what you were signing.
But the judge didn't just stick to contract law, did they? Reading that decision, it felt like he was taking a personal swipe at Cui.
It was incredibly moralistic. The judge basically said that while the contract might seem harsh, it was more unethical for Cui to abandon his alma mater just to follow his uncle.
That's a wild take from a judge. More unethical to switch schools. Since when is school spirit a legal obligation?
The court saw it as a personal equation. They argued the university had invested in Cui, and he betrayed that investment for a sentimental family reason.
So the lower court is reinforcing this idea that the institution buys your loyalty with the scholarship.
Precisely. They validated the golden handcuffs. They said as long as the contract isn't strictly illegal, the moral weight is on the student to stay put.
But Quinn appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. And this is where the story shifts from a simple contract dispute to a masterclass in legal philosophy.
This is the turning point. The Supreme Court looked at the exact same facts, the exact same contract, but through a totally different lens.
They didn't ask, did he sign it?
No, they asked, should this contract even exist?
Which brings us to the concept of public policy. Now, to a layperson, that sounds vague, like whatever the judge feels like today.
It sounds vague, but it's a very specific legal weapon. It's the ultimate safety valve in the law.
Okay, explain that.
Public policy is the principle that no person can lawfully do something that has a tendency to be injurious to the public good.
So even if I sign a contract letting you cut off my hand if I'm late for this recording.
The court won't enforce it because maiming people is bad for society. Yeah. Contracts aren't absolute.
They exist within society's values.
Exactly. If a contract violates sound morality or civic honesty, it's void from the beginning.
So the Supreme Court had to prove that Arellano's waiver was actually repugnant to the public good. And they dug up a piece of evidence the lower court had mostly ignored.
Memorandum number 38, series of 1949.
A government memo. Sounds like the driest possible plot twist.
It sounds boring, but it was the smoking gun. This is a memo from the director of private schools sent to all educational institutions.
And what did it say?
It was scathing. It said scholarships should be awarded for merit or leadership. And then it dropped the hammer.
Which was?
To stipulate the condition that such scholarships are good only if the students concerned continue in the same school nullifies the principle of merit.
Nullifies the principle of merit. Let's pause on that because that's a heavy statement.
It's saying you can't have it both ways. It's either a reward for the past or a bribe for the future. It can't be both.
So it completely deconstructs the logic of the retention scholarship.
But Arellano's lawyers, they were smart. They pushed back.
They said it's just a memo, right? Not a law.
Exactly. A bureaucrat can't rewrite contract law. And technically they were right. But the Supreme Court did this brilliant bit of legal jujitsu. They said, true, the Bureau isn't the legislature, but this memo wasn't creating a new law.
It was just recognizing something that was already true.
Yes. The court said the memo was articulating a sound principle of public policy. It was codifying good customs.
It was basically saying we shouldn't have to make a law about this because it should be obvious that holding students hostage is wrong.
The court really went after the university's intent here. They called it a business scheme.
There's a specific quote from the decision that's just brutal. The court said, scholarships are granted not to attract and to keep brilliant students in school for their propaganda mind, but to reward merit.
Propaganda mind, that is not the language of a court that's on the fence.
It's such a cynical industrial image, just mining the students for prestige. Look how smart our graduates are, but only if we force them to stay.
It exposes the whole transaction. If the university uses the students' grades to market the school, the university has already gotten its value. The transaction is closed.
Right. By asking for the money back, Arellano was trying to double dip.
Yeah.
They wanted the prestige and the tuition if that student decided to leave.
And that's why the court said the waiver nullified the merit. If you attach a stay or pay clause, It's not a scholarship. It's a leash.
It's a purchase of the student's future behavior.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court also looked at what other universities were doing, didn't they?
They did. They pointed out that the University of the Philippines and leading universities in the U.S., they don't do this. If you get a scholarship at Harvard and transfer to Yale, Harvard doesn't send you a bill.
Because they understand the scholarship was for work you already did.
Exactly. And the court used this to show Arellano's practice wasn't standard. It was an outlier that violated good customs.
I want to go back to the uncle factor. The lower court was obsessed with Cui leaving to follow his uncle. But the Supreme Court,
They didn't seem to care at all.
why not?
This is what the decision calls the high impersonal plane. The Supreme Court effectively said, the reason he left is irrelevant.
It doesn't matter if he left for his uncle, or because the cafeteria food was bad, or just for a change of scenery.
Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the nature of the money. If the money was a reward for merit, Cui was a free agent.
That's incredibly liberating. It removes the guilt trip.
It reclaims the agency of the individual. But the court went even further. They argued this contract was actually bad for society as a whole.
How so?
They stated that society has an established interest in gifted students.
Meaning society needs brilliant people to reach their full potential.
Yes. We need the best lawyers, doctors, engineers. If a brilliant student feels they can flourish better at a different school, society wants them to move.
So if a contract locks a genius into a mediocre situation because of money, that actually hurts the country.
It limits human potential, and limiting human potential is against public policy. The contract wasn't just hurting Cree, it was hurting the collective good.
This all leads to the idea of civic honesty, which the decision mentions.
Yeah, this implies educational institutions have a higher duty than, say, a car dealership. They aren't just selling a product.
They're shaping citizens.
So they have to be honest. If a community claims to be rewarding excellence but is actually just locking in customers, they're being civically dishonest.
So the verdict comes down.
The waiver is declared void. Arellano has to pay back the 1,033 pesos and 87 centavos.
With interest.
With interest.
Yeah.
Justice served. Cui gets his money, gets his transcripts, and gets to be a lawyer.
But the legacy of this case, it feels like it ripples way past 1950s Manila.
It does. The principle challenges the modern phenomenon of golden handcuffs.
We see this all the time. We'll pay for your MBA, but if you quit within 2 years, you owe us $20,000.
Those are the modern equivalents. And this case forces us to ask, is this actually a benefit for the employee, or is it a purchase of their paralysis?
It really changes how you look at a signing bonus or a retention package.
It should. You have to look at what you're getting and what you're giving up. If you're giving up a fundamental right, like the freedom to choose your employer.
Or if it's repugnant to public policy.
Exactly. The Supreme Court drew a line in the sand. They said, a student's mind is not property that can be mortgaged.
I love that. A student's mind is not property.
You can't buy a person's freedom of movement under the guise of charity.
So, to everyone listening, the next time someone offers you a gift or a bonus, but then slides a 5-page contract across the table.
Read the fine print. Look for the clawbacks.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, is this a reward for what I've done, or is this a trap for what I might do?
Because if it's a trap, you might need to channel your inner immaterio qui and fight it. That's it for this deep dive into the price of a free education.
See you next time.